Good morning, everyone. Yesterday was Rosh Chodesh Adar. We began the month of Adar, known as the happiest month on the Jewish calendar because it contains the festival, the holiday of Purim, the happiest holiday on the Jewish calendar. And this year we have two Adars. It's a Jewish leap year. So we have Adar 1 and Adar 2. We do all 30 days of Adar twice. And the question arises, in which Adar should we celebrate Purim? In the first Adar or the second Adar? And of course, we do it in the second Adar. And the question is, why the second Adar? Usually we seize a mitzvah at the first opportunity that comes our way. If we could do Purim in the first Adar, why wait till the second Adar? And the answer in the Talmud is, because we want to connect the miracle and the celebration of the holiday of Purim with the miracle and the celebration of Pesach, Passover, which is in the following month of Nisan. And so therefore, to put the two holidays in close proximity, we celebrate Purim in the second Adar, so it could be followed in the following month with the holiday of Passover. But the question is, what is the point of connecting and associating Purim with Passover? They're very different holidays, and furthermore, Passover is a biblical holiday, while Purim is a rabbinic holiday. You know, tonight is the Super Bowl, and hundreds of millions of people will watch the Super Bowl. But what I'm looking forward to is the 30-second commercial about anti-Semitism that our member Robert Kraft is sponsoring tonight. And to me, the real winner of tonight's game is not the 49ers or the Chiefs, but it's Robert Kraft's foundation. Because games are fun, it's entertaining, enjoyable, but what he's doing, which is taking a stand against anti-Semitism, is what we are really called to do in this world. What we're called upon to do is to stand up for what is right, stand up for justice, stand up for goodness and righteousness, and take a stand against evil, anti-Semitism, injustice, hatred. And long after the fun of the game will wear off, the message that Bob Kraft is going to share with the world tonight will live on. And that's the message of the holiday of Purim. You see, Passover was a miracle from God. God brought 10 plagues. God split the sea. God drowned the Egyptians in the sea. But Purim came about through the actions of two individuals, Mordechai and Esther. They stood up and took a stand for the Jewish people and were able to bring about the deliverance, the salvation of the Jewish people, and the downfall of Haman. And the lesson by associating the two holidays one with another is that we shouldn't always wait for God to perform miracles. We have to stand up and create a miracle, create a supernatural event, the way Mordechai and Esther did in the story of Purim. And by connecting these two holidays, we are taught that not all miracles happen through God, like Passover. We have the capability to be creators of miracles in our lives, and more importantly, in the lives of others. And it's interesting to note that while Passover is a joyous holiday, it's not as joyous as Purim, because in truth, the miracles that we create in our lives through our own efforts, through our own actions, generate even a greater joy, because we know that we were partners with God in bringing about that miracle. There was a great Hasidic Rabbi who lived in Montreal. His name was the Tasha Rabbi. And back in the 1950s, a Jew came to see him for a blessing. The Rebbe said, "What brings you to Canada?" He said, "I'm moving to Halifax, Nova Scotia." And the Rebbe said to him, "You know, there's not much of a Jewish community there, not a lot of Jewish institutions there. Stay here in Montreal. We have a beautiful Jewish community. It'll be much better for you." He was a young man. He was just starting out his life, and he was a Holocaust survivor. And he said to the Rebbe, "Rebbe, I'll tell you, I survived the concentration camps. I went to Amsterdam, and then I came to Montreal." And he said, "I had saved up in Amsterdam some money to start my life over. I had saved up $1,500. And when I got on the boat to come to Canada, there was someone sitting next to me on the boat, and I turned around for a little while, and suddenly my satchel with my money and it was gone. And I never saw this person again. And I don't know who it was, but I came now penniless and I have no money to restart my life. And I was offered a job in Halifax, and I have no choice. Please don't judge me for going to a place with no Jewish community. I have to support myself. The Rebbe said, I understand. Well, why don't you stay for the afternoon services before you travel on? During the mincha service, this man is praying, and he sees there's someone next to him staring at him throughout the service. So at the end of the service, he says to the fellow, do I know you? You know me? And he says to him, were you on a boat in Amsterdam coming to Canada? He says, yeah, I was. He says, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I was the one who stole your satchel with your money in it. But please don't be angry at me. It was desperate times, desperate measures. I was immigrating to Canada, but I want to repay you. Wait here. And he runs off and comes back 15 minutes later with an envelope. And he says, here is $2,000, $1,500 plus for the aggravation I caused you. At this point, the man had some money, and he decided to do what the Tasha Rebbe said, to start his life here in Montreal with a large Jewish community rather than to go take that job. He became part of the Tasha Rebbe's community. And then, with time, the Tasha Rebbe found him a shidduch, a wife. He got married, raised his children in Montreal, married off his children in Montreal, and then had grandchildren in Montreal, and all of them went to Jewish schools and were raised in a Jewish environment and grew up to be proud, strong members of the Jewish community. When this man, many, many years later, was a grandfather, gets a knock on the door, and who shows up? The man who stole his satchel with the money. And he says to him, I want to talk to you for a minute. He says, sure, what? He says, we're good. You paid me back. You don't have to apologize again. He says, no, I wanted to tell you something else. He says, I was never in Amsterdam. I wasn't on the boat, and I never stole your money. He said, really? What do you mean? He says, the Tasha Rebbe came to me and said, do me a favor. Come to pray mincha and stare at this man. Pray next to him and look at him throughout the service. And then tell him you stole his money on the boat. And give him this envelope with $2,000. The man realized that the Rebbe wanted him to stay in Montreal because it would be better for him spiritually. And therefore, he arranged this whole scenario to give him the money to restart his life in Montreal. And in hindsight, he realized that the whole direction of his life, who he married, the children he raised, how they grew up, how his family developed so beautifully, the grandchildren, all the nachas he had, was all because of that act of kindness of the Tasha Rebbe. The Tasha Rebbe was a partner with God in creating a miracle in someone's life, becoming a blessing in someone's life. And that's the lesson of the Adar Purim holiday next to Passover. Don't wait for God to perform miracles. Step up and perform a miracle for yourself and for others. Have a wonderful day.